Roger Maxson, former captain of the no longer existing United States Army, born sometime before the Great War. Founder and first High Elder of the fearless, reclusive, pragmatic and post-war faction that is the Brotherhood of Steel. Hello everyone, I am Redbeak Raven, and in this video I am going to give you the story of Roger Maxson. So put your feet up for a few, relax, watch and or listen as we go deep into the story of the man who would change the future of many. In the year 2076, a year before the world was plunged into nuclear chaos, a division of Westtech, a pre-war defense contractor working for the United States, made multiple breakthroughs with the Pan-Immunity Virus project. The project was initially a cure for what is known as the New Plague, also known as the Blue Flu, a disease that eventually killed those that suffered from it, although like with all plagues, there were apparently survivors. The plague quickly swept throughout the United States in 2050, leading to a national quarantine 3 years later. The project was also meant to help those that might become subjected to Chinese biological weapons. Unfortunately, the project grew into the infamous Forced Evolutionary Virus, or FEV for short. The virus is widely known to many wastelanders as the thing responsible for the creation of the mutated humans, known as the super mutants. The breakthroughs Westtech made with this project was enough for the United States Defense Department to send a military team to the Westtech facility out of fear for international espionage. The team was under the command of a Colonel Robert Spindell and one Captain Roger Maxson. The team secured the site and began to oversee the project, which by that time had turned into the FEV project. On the 7th of January 2077, all the FEV research was moved to the Mariposa military base, a newly constructed top-secret military facility built specifically to house the Forced Evolutionary Virus. Colonel Robert's security team was also moved to this base to continue protecting the project. However, they were unaware of the reason for the project's movement to Mariposa, the reason being that the project was now ready to begin its stage of testing on human subjects. Nine months down the line, on the 10th of October 2077, the soldiers stationed there had discovered the human testing that was being carried out on the base, and the thing that supposedly made this worse was that the scientists were using military prisoners as test subjects. As a result from discovering the human experiments, the security team's leader Colonel Spindell suffered from a nervous breakdown and locked himself in his office. Troop morale was severely lowered, and the two situations forced Captain Maxson to assume command of the team and seize control of the entire base. With the soldiers angry, demanding both blood and answers, Maxson struggled to keep the mutinous team under control. 2 days later, on the 12th of October, Maxson stopped one of his men from executing a scientist. The following day, Maxson decided to begin interrogating the science team, starting with the chief scientist Robert Anderson. Anderson gave Maxson the full details on their experiments and their orders from the United States government, but Maxson didn't believe that the government was involved and eventually shot the scientist, most likely out of hate. Killing Anderson resulted in the soldiers following Maxson without question. 2 days after this event, on the 15th of October, Maxson attempted to speak to Colonel Spindell, who had now completely lost his way, and upon both Maxson and his soldiers breaking their way into the Colonel's office, Spindell committed suicide by shooting himself in the head, right after saying his last words, which were that he was sorry. Maxson had then ordered for all the scientists to be interrogated and executed. After listening to the arguments the scientists made and the specifics of their orders from the government, he believed that they were indeed working for the United States government. On the 20th of October, Maxson had declared via a radio that he and his team were in full desertion from the army. However, he received no reply from both the US Army and the government. After his announcement of desertion, Maxson had ordered for all the families of the soldiers under his command to be moved into the military base. On the 23rd of October 2077, the Great War had come. In the middle of interrogating a scientist named Leon von Felding, Maxson was interrupted by the launch and impact of the nuclear bombs. However, Felding was eventually executed. Fortunately for the soldiers and their families, they were unharmed by the warheads and the following fallout. 2 days later, on the 25th of October, one Sergeant Plattner volunteered to go outside and ensure that the radiation levels were safe. Maxson then made plans for the inhabitants to leave Mariposa and make their way to the Lost Hills government bunker. On the 26th of October, Maxson had ordered for the scientists they executed to be buried. Maybe he wanted to try and ease his conscience and believe it was the right thing to do. It is thought at this point that Roger Maxson was starting to believe what the scientists had told him and could have caused him to regret his decisions. The following day, on the 27th of October, the soldiers and their families left the military base and began their journey to the Lost Hills bunker. Unfortunately, it doesn't take some people that long to realise that they are in a position to seize an opportunity to do and take what they want by force. One of the many bad results of the devastating chaos the Great War caused was the rise of marauders, raiders, bandits. There are many names for those who just kill and plunder their way through life. People without laws and restrictions who are willing to do anything to get what they want. The journey to Lost Hills became a dangerous one as the group of survivors came under attack from such people. Raiders seized the opportunity to attack the unprotected civilians as the soldiers themselves enjoyed the luxury of their power armor for protection. The group had lost many lives on that journey to Lost Hills. The most noteworthy death of the bunch was Roger Maxson's own wife. However, his teenage son, whose name is still not known, managed to survive. They eventually made their way to Lost Hills and claimed the bunker as their own, expanding and adapting it to fit their needs. To this day, the journey is known by the Brotherhood as the Exodus and has been immortalized in Brotherhood lore. After settling down in Lost Hills, Maxson and his soldiers eventually formed the Brotherhood of Steel. A faction dedicated to the ideals of preservation. They sought to protect the world from those who would misuse technology. However, little is actually known about the Brotherhood's early years. Roger Maxson, who was now at that time known as High Elder Maxson, created the ideological foundations of the Brotherhood's doctrine, and under his leadership the Brotherhood thrived and developed its own hierarchy. He would eventually go on to form the 3 original orders consisting of the Knights, the Scribes, and the Paladins. In 2097 he became grandfather to John Maxson, who was the High Elder of the Brotherhood during the time the Vault Dweller fought the Master and his super mutant army. Apart from the birth of John Maxson, there isn't really a lot of other information about Roger Maxson or even the Brotherhood at this time. The only remaining noteworthy event in Maxson's lifetime was that in 2134, a faction within the Brotherhood of Steel led by a Sergeant Dennis Allen decided to break away from the Brotherhood of Steel in search of technological artifacts at one of the most dangerous locations in the Californian wasteland, the West Tech Research Facility, which is more commonly referred to by locals as the Glow. Aptly named since the facility took a direct hit from a nuclear warhead, it's believed that Sergeant Dennis Allen was one of Roger Maxson's original team members from before the war. And now this is where High Elder Roger Maxson's story comes to an end. Only a year after Sergeant Allen and his team left for the Glow, Roger Maxson suffered from cancer and died in 2135. The position of High Elder was then filled in by his son, who was eventually killed in 2155 by a raider who belonged to a gang known as the Vipers. High Elder Roger Maxson is a name that is spoken with the utmost respect among Brotherhood members. He was regarded as not just the founder and first High Elder of the Brotherhood of Steel, but also an almost holy figure. His name carries weight in the Brotherhood and among other factions and communities. The state of Maxson in the new California Republic, as you can tell, was named after him or his descendants. There's also talk of a bunker named after him called the Maxson Bunker, located somewhere east of California. Even now the name Maxson continues to live on through his descendants. However, the only known remaining descendant of Roger Maxson is Elder Arthur Maxson, the natural-born leader of the East Coast Brotherhood of Steel. So the Maxson line still continues to live on, even if it may only be by a thread. Suffice to say, Roger Maxson has probably changed the wasteland, maybe not forever, but for a long time yet. Whether it was for good or not, well, that depends on you and your beliefs. Some say that the Brotherhood have most likely prevented more tragedies from happening due to their hoarding of technology. Others believe that the Brotherhood are simply here to lord over the wasteland. And then there are those who simply do not care for the factions of the world. Simple folk who just try to take it one day at a time. Unfortunately, even Roger Maxson's Brotherhood sometimes strays away from their founder's beliefs. But no one's perfect, nor was Roger Maxson. In the end, he killed defenseless scientists and probably lived with that guilt for the rest of his life. Maybe that's why he started the Brotherhood, to not prevent the world from blowing itself up again, but also to help him find some form of redemption. Whatever the reason was, we may never really know. But his memory continues to live on, for the Brotherhood of Steel is still out there, seeking technological treasures and fights with an enemy that threatens the very existence of mankind. Maxson's Brotherhood still roams the wasteland in search for technology. For better or for worse, that's for you to decide, in the comments below. And that concludes the story of Roger Maxson. If you like this video, then hit the like button. You can also follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook for updates. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you soon.